This episode of the Rendezvous with Ruth podcast is brought to you by Ruth Dorsainville, Lifestyle CEO Coaching. If you are looking to create a business that provides you the financial freedom to live and work from anywhere in this world, the Lifestyle CEO Coaching Program provides you the opportunity to create an online business that allows you to focus on the things that matter the most. Time. Time to connect with your loved ones. Time to travel and experience new cultures. Time to learn new skills. Time to grow your business. Coaching is the most valuable tool you can use. It is an investment in yourself, providing you with the highest return: happiness. The Lifestyle CEO Coaching Program will help you clarify and focus to start your own online business, help you leverage your time, help you hire the best team to get your business automated, and accountability to help you achieve anything you have ever dreamed. To help you get started, Ruth Dorsainville is offering you a free strategy session valued at $300. To get started, visit www.ruthdorsainville.com/thelifestyleceo.
Today's podcast, we have a great guest by the name of Scott. Scott is one of the co-founders of Espresso Display. I've had the opportunity to meet him in one of my traveling in Sydney. And the reason why I wanted to bring Scott onto the podcast is because his message, his company really touches and the digital nomad world, because I know many of us are looking to travel the world and being free and having that lifestyle. But being equipped, having the right equipment helps tremendously. That helps us in terms of being productive, provides us a lot of resources, which is why I'm very happy to bring on today Mr. Scott. How are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. It was great to meet you in Sydney. And again, it's nice to have you as well on the show. So let's get to it. Let's go straight to the point. And I wanted to let everyone know who you are. So please let us know who you are first as Scott, the individual.
Yeah, so I'm Scott. I'm one of the three co-founders of Espresso Displays, which aims to allow you to create your workspace anywhere. So I studied civil engineering here in Sydney, Australia at a university called University of Technology, Sydney. Studied civil engineering for 5 years, worked as a civil engineer during that time as an undergrad. Did various other bits and pieces, trips overseas, working on projects in Cambodia, in Indonesia, and also working in Nepal. That was quite a significant project in Nepal, as one of my friends went over after the 2015 earthquake, and he ended up starting a non-profit and now a social enterprise over there in Nepal. And me, with my civil engineering background, ended up helping out a lot. And that was kind of the starting point of getting into entrepreneurship, but even more broadly of starting to understand that you can shape and influence the world around you, which is something really important to me. I ended up finishing my degree and traveling around a lot and working alongside my other senior engineering school friends. That's when we found this problem that we really wanted to create a tool or create a set of tools that you can just work productively from anywhere. And that started off just with a real small nugget of an idea, and we ended up starting up with Espresso Displays. So yeah, I've lived in Sydney primarily my whole life, studying beyond high school, and then I've traveled the world. I've seen I think 3 different continents, over 35 countries, and still living here right now for this show.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. And also, congratulations on your launch. You just launched Espresso Displays. So congratulations on that. But first, talk to us in regards to your journey, because it seemed as though you had all the cards lined up for you, right? But tell us more. Were you a student when you started Espresso Display, or is it your first business? So tell us more in regards to the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, it's come from a whole range of places. It's definitely been big learning curves. I think that's probably the main thing that I've been chasing throughout all of this, is what is the biggest learning curve that I can have. And the real start of this, I think, happened with all of this Nepal stuff. So initially with From the Ground Up, which was the Sydney-based non-profit, which has now transitioned most of its operations over into interlock construction over in Nepal. and a range of, I guess, entrepreneurial subjects and even entrepreneurial attitudes. I've always been very strong and passionate about feedback, but effective feedback. So that's come out through my time at university as well. I found when some of my friends didn't feel like they had the best experience in a particular subject, or it wasn't taught in the way that they felt they should have taught, I was always the one who kind of channeled those types of discussions with the teaching staff in a way that's also understanding what their constraints and parameters were, all the way through to that my final engineering thesis, my honours year capstone, was actually redesigning the civil engineering course. So I'm always looking at systems, structures, how they come to be, what are the influencing factors, and how can you manipulate that, or how does that need to be changed over time due to new contexts, new people, new technologies. I think that's the same, I guess, foundations that I wouldn't have really understood were important a year ago, but now for me it seems all too natural, all too right to be doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
Beautiful. So while you were studying in university, are you still studying right now, or?
No, I finished last year.
Beautiful. So you feel that the study that you've done at university helped you a lot in terms of thinking in a way that that is more structured, right? So do you feel like a lot of the benefit has been to be in school, right? In terms of learning a few things, because I know that nowadays, I know in Australia it could be different, but I know in North America, most of the United States, right now they're just saying, there's no point of going to school because, you could learn much quicker. But how do you feel? It's always good to have the different aspects when it comes to learning, because I believe in education, whether it's through university, whether it's through books, whether it's through, doesn't matter. Education is key, whichever form you've taken it. So tell us more in regards to school, and how do you feel that has impacted, the learning and the growth of your business?
I'm very glad you've asked this, and this conversation's gone in this direction, because I've thought and written a lot about this. I've modeled a lot of frameworks in this, and write a lot of blog posts and speak to a lot of educators, both in the university setting as well as in non-university settings, particularly here in Australia. How, for me, I really look back and that my undergraduate experience was phenomenal. I got learning the actual subjects itself, which I was also pushed to work in my relevant industry at the age of 18, at the end of first year. So my experience was quite unique, and it wasn't shared alongside a lot of my peers, and I was very fortunate in that sense. When I look at an effective education right now, if I was going to go start this again in another field or something that I don't have experience and domain knowledge in, I think there's 4 main pillars that are really important with education. And the first thing actually starts with yourself. That generally when you get encouraged to do a particular course, no one really asks you, or we don't encourage each other really to dive deep into like, really, what do you want to study? I call this the pillar of introspection, looking into yourself. That what are you most interested in? What are you curious about? I think something people say passion. I don't think you start with passion with many things. Passion is something that evolves and grows over time. But what are you curious and interested in? What are your natural skill sets? Are you more STEM related? Are you more creative or abstract? Or do you really like, I guess writing? Or are you very compliance regulated? So someone who makes a great, entrepreneur is someone who doesn't really make a great compliance person. There's a very different set of skills. Not one's better than the other. You are just who you are. And starting with all of that really allows you to think about, okay, what type of a learning experience do you want to have? I look at this as 2 things. 1, as the compass for which direction do you want to go? And 2, as also, the horsepower or the multiplier of your productivity towards everything. And all it is just about being intentional, being aware, and doing an ongoing self-assessment about where you're at and what you want to be doing. Mm-hmm. The next pillar actually then comes from what I call a project, and that's tied into the 3rd pillar, which is interests, culture, and everything that makes you you. The reason I say a project is fundamentally important is you learn outcome and how to get to that outcome. You learn responsibility. No one else is going to do this project other than you. So the first step of doing a project that you need to push forward to is doing a project that you like, that you're interested in. Otherwise, whether it's 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 years, you're going to stop doing it, and therefore you won't be learning and doing anything. And then you also have to deal with risk and uncertainty. You have to make decisions, and you only have X amount of knowledge. You don't have that much knowledge. And you have to make a decision that will affect all these things down the line, and that's something that you can't read about. You have to do. You have to get experience in. And that's why it ties back into, I guess, interests, culture. These are all the things that are personal to you. When trying to say this to particular students, because I teach at UTS where I studied, I say this is your uniqueness factor. If you're studying civil engineering like what I did, you're probably going to be graduating alongside 500 people who all did your degree. But the perfect mix of who you are, like what are the things that you read about? What do you do on your weekends? What are you most interested in? Where do you last travel to and why? And you mix that in with that being intentional about what you're doing. That really creates that real unique blend of who you are, it's your uniqueness factor. And that also then ties into what projects you're doing. Why are you doing those projects? The fourth pillar, which is now really what we've gotten to, is structured education, which is actually having about a milestone saying, okay, there's this knowledge gap and I want this knowledge so I can apply it to do all these particular things, or because I'm interested in it, or because it's a good course and it's a great opportunity. But what I really think is that if you're working under a framework like that, you're not looking for 4 to 6 year degrees. You're looking to 4 to 6 week courses. Repeat this whole framework for 3 or 4 years, and you can do that much simply and cheaply and more effectively with online courses and everything else like that, or specialized courses. I think your education experience would be amazing. But I do understand that there's two main constraints towards that. One is the socialization of having friends and peer support network that is one of the best experiences from college. Like with Espresso Displays, my two co-founders are people who I studied with. That's how I know them, and that's how we started ping-ponging ideas off each other and getting to the stage of where we were now. So that's a peer support network is one, but also socialization into an industry as well. Being around people that are interested in similar things, looking to do all of that. And I think in a lot of the main the main shortcoming of online education right now is that it is quite isolated. And I think that's, if we can overcome that and build community, maybe even in real life community on education, we can play around with different outcomes. And it's also personalized. Personalized education is becoming much more important.
Beautiful. That's a very good response when it comes to education. Thank you for covering all the different aspects, because I know a lot of people are asking about that. And another thing that they I hear as well, a lot of people say that, you know what, they focus on the money part first versus what you just mentioned, because you're thinking about the way that some people do. Well, I'm not sure there's a lot of people, which is really being connected with who you are, your skill sets, your talents, and then just connecting that with your true, I guess, essence, and moving forward that way. However, some people are, I've got to pay the bills. I've got university bills to pay, and I want to make money right away in my business. I have an idea. So what are your thoughts in regards to speaking to individuals that are looking to, that are entrepreneur, they are in school, or they don't want to be in school, they're not in school, but money is a main factor in terms of starting a business?
Yeah, that's really, really important. Make this as I always start off with a business as treat it as an educational opportunity, treat it as just simply a project. And there are ways that you can make it a lot cheaper for you. And there are ways, and understand that intentionally, and understand that saying, these are the levers that I need in order to get to here or get to there. And it might mean building out a team and co-founders, or just people working on the project with you that have that domain experience so you don't need to outsource. Or it might mean just getting to do a whole lot of research into your problem space, and really understanding that, which is free. Speaking to people is free. That really underpinning that, so when you go to build, you actually know what you want to build the first time and do it really quickly. You don't need to dive right into it, try and get something to explode and go really well. You can de-risk according to what is relevant for you. When other people, when they're unsure what to do with their early stage startup, because UTS now has a pre-incubator, basically to try and get all the great STEM and university-wide students and get them starting ventures. And for a lot of them, it's like, I'm studying, I'm working, I've got this trip overseas that I booked 6 months ago. I've got so much going on. How can I fit in this startup? And my response generally to tell them, saying, take as long as you need. Like, really understand what is important for you. What is success for you? And start off, don't go out. You can build and prototype. And I was like, do that cheaply and effectively. But understanding that problem space and who are you serving it for, and meeting those people, speaking to those people, that's free. So, and that's your unique insight. Generally, as an entrepreneur, is understanding, entrepreneurs never really have resources, or many of them. They have connectedness to the markets, or understanding unique insights. Build that up, meet the right people, and just understand this space. You have nothing to lose. So I think the worst thing you can do is just not get started on something. Yeah. And that comes back into the whole project, that it needs to be something that you like, that you're interested in, that you're curious to follow further, that you just need to get started with it. And it doesn't have to be money, but it does have to be time.
Beautiful. So let me ask you, what is success for you? How do you define success?
Success for me is being able to solve the problems of the people that I work for. And for me right now, it's mobility for where we work. More people are changing away from a typical cubicle or one employer that they work for 30 years. And they're moving into, I guess, a freelance economy or gig economy, digital nomads, or even more entrepreneurs in co-working spaces. Even that co-working spaces are so popular now. Organizations like WeWork, or even the co-working space where we met in Fishburners, they really didn't exist and weren't prominent. People didn't know about them 5-6 years ago. That in working times, that's not a long time. And statistics between 2018 and 2020 show that there's going to be 42% more co-working spaces around the world, with 62% more workers. This is a huge shift in working behavior. Yeah. And bringing flexibility to the workplace gives us way more opportunities for creativity, for cross-pollination of ideas. I'm sure you've worked in a co-working space, and just seeing and hearing about what everyone else around you is working on is so inspiring, and it's diversity of thought in a new way. It's not just diversity within your team, but it's across teams. From a business model for these co-working spaces, they're able to get higher yield per space because they're charging more per desk. But for the individual, we're paying less per office. So it's a win-win. It's a great working behavior. And for me, it's about understanding the technology that drives that. And we're working primarily off our laptops or even tablets. But if you do have this big cubicle that's great that you always go to, you deck it out with different screens, docks, hubs, dongles, and everything like that. My main mission is being able to create an office that you can take with you anywhere, whether it's flying out to Chengdu for 2 weeks, or flying to China to visit our manufacturing for a couple of weeks too. I'm part of this problem. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I live it, I breathe it, I know it. And now that I get to share with everyone else and kind of understand their problems in this same space too. So once I can create, and Matt and Will, my co-founders, can work and make a full office in a backpack and continually change and create new products as the technology changes in order to make people more productive, work flexibly and work where they want, really make their workspace anywhere.
Beautiful. Two things that you've mentioned. One of them is, as most digital nomad or traveling CEOs or entrepreneur, we do feel at time lonely, right? So by going to those co-working spaces, like I travel everywhere, wherever I go, I meet different people by working through those co-working spaces, and this is how we met. Right? So that's the first key, right? So anyone that's looking to be an entrepreneur or that's a digital nomad, being able to be in that environment is very, very important. And secondly, productivity is also important, right? And another thing that I love that you mentioned is that you are providing solution, but not only are you providing solution, you're providing solution to something that you yourself have experienced. right? So you're not just selling for the sake of selling. Going back to what you just mentioned earlier, so what is, I guess, the desires of what the people need, which is also your own desire in the shift in the career placements that we have right now. So being digital nomad, it's about traveling everywhere around the world, having a laptop and your office everywhere you go, and you are the living proof in terms of you are the avatar of your own product as well. So that's how you know whether or not it is efficient. And I'm sure along the way you had to adjust a few things just to make sure that things were perfectly perfect for people to be productive while they work. So I'm going to give you the chance right now just to explain a little bit more in regards to Espresso Display and what do you mean? I just walk around and have in my backpack. So people that don't understand, that don't know what Espresso Displays is, please explain a bit further.
So what we've created is the world's thinnest portable monitor. We're selling it in 13.3 inch and 15.6 inch sizes that model the two most common laptop sizes. It's made from high quality aluminium and touchscreen, works great, feels great. We have a whole range of accessories. It plugs into your laptop. You can even plug into a whole range of phones and even tablets. That allows you to give multiple screens of these devices that you can slide away into your backpack or anything. It's less than 5 millimeters thick, which really means it's tiny. It's thinner than all laptops. It's thinner than most tablets. And all it does it simply plugs in like a fixed monitor, and it just works. It just works. Nothing to download, nothing else to go on, and you put it away in your bag. So it's designed to go from your backpack to wherever your office is. Mm-hmm. It might even, and we've created a whole range of stands and accessories that can go onto wall mounts that can be folded up as well, and a flip case too. And that's our starting package of what we're offering, because that's what we've found is there's nothing more frustrating than when you're working just off a laptop and you're trying to have 2 or 3 applications at once. You're flicking between tabs, and there's real productivity lost with that. You're losing focus. You end up jumping between tabs, end up on the wrong tab, end up distracted. So many of the tools that we use now, even the concept of Facebook, people use that for work communications, for Facebook group. We're now launching a crowdfunding campaign, which heavily relies on social media. And even as someone who runs a campaign, I have to be very conscious not to get distracted about different personal notifications I get when trying to manage our social media campaign. So in trying to organize all of that, that's what multiple monitors do so well. When trying to do spreadsheets and takeoffs whilst actually looking off a report, you need 2 screens. When trying to do design work, you need 2 screens. We've been living in a world of content and software, which is great because it's solving more and more problems. But trying to balance them all on kind of these tabs all lined up behind each other, and we as simple humans trying to do our best end up jumping between the two, and we end up distracted. So that's our first suite of products, but we haven't always got there. We've been doing this for about a year in order to prototype, speak to the right people. We understand that, yes, we are our customers, and between the 3 of us, we even have different ideas between what is best for us. If you look at someone's office, go through the next co-working space, everyone has a different setup. They're slightly different arrangements of screens, different spacings out, and that's something that was a huge breakthrough for us, because we're trying to decide, okay, what accessories do we have with this screen? How should it get set up? And we're initially starting off as a mount that attaches to the back of the screen and could pivot, swivel around across as an attachment to the screen. But we found that whilst some people wanted that is not truly about creating your workspace anywhere. For us, that's an accessory to the core product. And we were initially very product centric, very much about how can we make that the best thing ever, optimize what we had. And we really did a full 180, 360, coming back to really say, okay, what is the underlying problem? What is the underlying problem? And that allowed us to really understand and speak to all of the right people to kind of figure that out and kind of say, well, you know what, like it's actually the screen itself. We want something that we don't want to have to carry around and think about, okay, Bluetooth, does it connect to this? Did I charge it last night? So we've made just the simplest screen we could, which is thin and as light as we can make it. It looks great. There's a lot of monitors and peripheral devices that you can buy that they just look terrible. So if you're spending a lot of money, if you're quite aesthetically minded, like obviously Apple, one of the best and the best hardware company out there, people care a lot about their products, about the tools that they use to work. Mm-hmm. So you don't complement that with something that just does not look good. You don't want that for your workspace. In the same way, the design in WeWork, like that's very carefully curated to create a culture. In the same way, your products do the same thing. So we've made a whole range. We've made 7, 8 different prototypes depending on what we define as a prototype. And really, we've gone back and forth. We've now done a whole range with our MVP, our first line of products, and we're now doing a whole range of demo days, getting the products and screens in front of people, seeing how they use it, letting them rent it out and use it for the day, and then just going around seeing what they're working on. And the feedback that we've gotten is amazing. I'm overwhelmed every single day when I hear about people who are like really enjoying it and wanting to buy. One of my current frustrations, because we're just doing a pre-launch campaign, so we still have just under 30 days until our campaign launches, is when people say, hey, can I just buy one now? Mm-hmm. And I constantly have to say, well, whilst I just want to high five them and say, deal, like it comes back and you have to say, okay, well, we have this campaign coming. That's our official launch. We're doing a lot of effort to make sure that launch goes really big and strong. So yeah, that's really what we aim to provide. And it's the same thing about what is your workspace anywhere? Mm-hmm. Where do you work? Mm-hmm. How many times have you opened your laptop? For us, if you've opened your laptop more than in 3 locations a day, like that's who we want to speak to. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's not just about creating electronics and selling them out there. So many people are already doing that. There's a new attachment, dongle, hub for anything. And even platforms like Amazon. You can go to Amazon, you can find a whole range of products for almost anything now. That for us, it's really about creating a community and creating the best products for people who want to work on the go, not confined to a fixed workspace. And if we can stay connected and our customers are a part of this ongoing community, that's what matters for us. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your journey. So right now the product is out and you told us it's been a year and a half. So something tells me along the year and a half, there's been some hair pulling, gray hair growing. So for anyone that says, you know what, thank you for the inspiration. I'm going out there, I'm going to open my business, and they don't see result within the first 30 days and they're like, I'm giving up, right? So we all know, most entrepreneurs know that like Steve Jobs would say, only crazy people go in business, because it's so challenging that it's like you could easily get a job and just get your paycheck. But for other people that have the drive, that know that they have a purpose and they want to create something and create a dent in the universe, we're the crazy one, right? So what would you tell? How can you share your story? Because there's people out there that it's been a year and they're about to give up on their product, right? And they're on a co-working space. Oh, and actually I met some people, like they're coders and they're like, I need a client right now. Or they have their first client, but it's, waiting. So they're at that peak state. So tell us more in regards to your journey and how you got there. And of course, you just launched. So just tell us more in regards to the beginning, the year and a half journey to launching Espresso Displays.
Yeah, so I think right about now is, because we're right at this launch stage, it's quite surreal. So we don't experience any of that kind of at the moment because it's so tangible, it's so real, and we're right there, and we're very customer facing. But there have been many gray areas back in the times in between waiting for the next product to be shipped, the prototype, making a design change, and then figuring out, okay, we can't do this anymore, we want to be changing around it. That the main thing is to come back to I guess what your underlying principles are. Why did you get into this for the first place? Mm-hmm. And I think really for early stage entrepreneurs, it's the learning, it's the responsibility. It's really getting there and saying, I'm going to make a change. And it gets hard at points. It certainly gets hard. that you need to make sure you're surrounded by the right support networks. From the financial side of things, you need to make the right decisions for you and for your family as well. And you can make adjustments in real time as well. You can pick up an extra job on weekends and nights and things like that. That in those grey times that what's kind of held me is kind of talking back to our founding team. It's why it's so important to have other founders there. So you're not alone. It's not just you, because the moral support is worth so much. And then also having a support network too. Generally your friends and family, they're kind of supportive, but it never really feels quite right because they don't understand it because they've never done it. And that's another thing that I think co-working spaces are so powerful for, that it's with other people who understand it, who are living it, who know those challenges, who give you a smack when you need a smack and need to keep on going, and are there to kind of like give you a pat on the shoulder and hear you out when you need that. So the main thing I'd always recommend that's worked so much is start with yourself. Check in with yourself and say, okay, what's happening here? Is this something that I need to push harder with? Is this something that I need to supplement my efforts with something else? And speak to the right people. Speak to people who've done this before. That's probably the main thing. So how we've kind of started with this is day one, we didn't just dive all in. We kind of slowly increased our involvement as we progressed, because what we're able to achieve today is not what we were able to achieve a year ago. So if we dived all in a year ago, we would have dived all in and we wouldn't have known really what to do, and we probably wouldn't have made it this far because we would have made sacrifices and trade-offs when we weren't ready. And I think aligning that, the start, you can really drag the start out, that you can really just learn and understand and really gauge what you need to know and find the people who have the knowledge gaps of what you don't have. And in the same way, like there's no standard model. There's no tell people to work harder, persist more, find that client, be more aggressive, because there's no one size fits all. It's really about understanding, okay, what are the levers here? How do I get more clients? How do I get more cash flow now versus long-term growth? How do you trade that off? If you're looking for funding, okay, which sources of funding do I want to get? I can kind of hold off for this next accelerator, but I've got these angels right here, but I know they're not really the right fit for what I want to do, but it's money that I can have right now. How do you make those decisions? And it's really about having the right advisory network around you, the right people really there who are close enough to understand you and know that when you talk to them, they just go and look at you and give you that funny look and say, what do you mean by that? And you're just like, oh, okay. And having those people, because they become incredibly valuable because they level you out. They really let you see yourself and see your team and see your company situation for what it really is. And that's what's so important at this volatile early stage.
Beautiful. What would you say was one of your most your biggest struggle to getting to the launch of your company?
The biggest struggle was probably refining the design to what we wanted it to be. It was a function of that, and it was a function also of time. Because we've learnt more, and because we've learnt more, we changed the design, and then from that design we learnt more, and then changed the design. So what was a January launch was then a June launch, and is now a September, October launch. And that time period of just that sliding scale, kind of thinking to yourself, okay, so I know I'm learning heaps, and I'm very glad that we need to make these changes, but also in that same way, kind of being like, okay, is this a November launch? Is this a January next year launch? Because if that's the case, then we need to think about those things I was talking about before, supplementing income. Okay, what else is this knowledge gap? Is it better to outsource these type of things? That really the uncertainty of all that, because hardware is a lot slower, and you really only you can be very agile in the prototyping space, which is what we've been doing. But then as soon as you go into manufacturing, you've made the product, it's very expensive to change it. So that's kind of been where we've danced with one, our experience gap. I'm never concerned with knowledge gaps, because our founding team, we can Our ability to learn is incredible. We've looked back at each other at the end of each sprint every 3 months and kind of look back being like, who were we 3 months ago? Who were we 3 months ago? So, but for us, we're acutely aware of our experience gap. We're all young in our early mid-20s, and that's why we need to support ourselves with the right people around us, people with a lot of experience, people who understand the trends and who've made the mistakes before us so that we can not make the devastating mistakes.
That's key. That's key. That I'm a very big, when it comes to learning from people that has done 20, 50 years of research and experiences and starting there, I find that it's the most smartest way to educate yourself, right? Because what you're doing is that you are sitting on the shoulder of the giants, as they would say, right? So you're sitting on the shoulder, you have all this knowledge, and you could just move forward from there. So kudos for knowing this. And because I know a lot of people, they like, I'm going to figure it out myself. That's the worst thing you can do, right? So being able to, as you mentioned, being around other people, and you guys are in the mid-20s. That's where the passion is, and not just that, but being able to understand that you are your mid-20s. There's other people that have done things much quicker, much faster, and they could teach you that. That's definitely something that I encourage many people that are watching this to take on. My next question, how do you feel about, what's your definition, or do you believe in work-life balance? Because some people, they want to go on their own and say, you know what, I'm tired of working for this company and everything else. I want to be my own boss. But what they don't understand is that they still have a boss, and the boss is themselves, right? So how do you feel about work-life balance? Do you feel that it's something that is that is real, or is it people just saying this, but it doesn't really happen, especially when you're starting a business? But most importantly, what is your definition of work-life balance?
I believe very strongly that people should have their own definition on what work is to them. I think that's incredibly important. It's not a matter of work-life balance, work-life integration. Am I my own boss? Do I work 5-6 hours a week or anything like that? But what work is to them, because those people who work 5-6 hours a week, let's see what they actually do for the other 100 hours a week anyway. I'm sure they're up to a lot of things too. That for me, it's fundamentally important, because in some ways, a lot of people get a lot of value from going into a place of work, working there, leaving the door on the way out, and being able to switch off. That is fundamentally important. And that's definitely something that I reminisce on back in the days before I was working on something like this, where every time you wake up in the middle of the night, you check your phone, you have a whole range of emails from people all over the place doing things that you're constantly on the go. And because, especially when you run a business or start a business, that you're the line of responsibility. Like everything stops with you. Everything comes back to you. That I think there's no, it depends on what stage of life you are. Depends on what you're looking for. Depends on what your personal attitude towards work is. It depends on what you're working on as well. Like you might find a job that would be that walk in, walk out example, but you love it. You're happy to do it all the time. You wake up on a Saturday morning and you just check your emails, just before you're about to go out and do your thing. So I think there's a balance, and I think one huge trend is that we are moving more towards this integrated society where you bring yourself to work. You bring who you are to work. You're not one person at work and you're someone else after 5 p.m. And I think there's a lot to say about that. I think that's incredibly valuable for ourselves and also for society as well. We're being more authentic in the world. And that's why I think the drive of passion, of really being like Simon Sinek, like find your why, the value of purpose, back to WeWork, love what you do. Like this is becoming more and more important because we're claiming it as a much greater extension of ourselves. What are the missions and values that we have, and how can we align that in this world too? And CSR, triple bottom line in sustainability. All these things are becoming more and more important because we're not just looking at work as a means to fuel the rest of our lives. We're scheduling it we're aligning it with what are the values and priorities that we have.
Yep.
And what is the world that we want to see. So it's quite complicated because it's different and personal for everyone, but I think every person should dive really deep, particularly like the people that I've studied with, everything like that, really understand, okay, what are you doing and also why and how intentional are you with it? And in the same word, it's not just when you're studying or doing education where introspection is important, because that compass and that momentum, that push, the horsepower, like that matters in every aspect of your life. I really think that's quite important. And that's also conversations I really love having with people too. Kind of really saying, okay, what do you really like, and how is this interesting, and then how can you make that work for you so that you can. I'm really liking this, and this is the whole trend that we're also thinking about, and in this whole freelance economy. Like you've got Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, which are kind of marketplaces for people to very easily just be able to get some clients, do the work that they're specialized in their way at their own terms. Mm-hmm. And that's also rising in the number of small businesses, contractors, consultants, or a whole range of things. And because of that, you also have the flexibility to work in more different places. But I think for me, what is work-life balance for me, it's entirely integrated. My friends and my work friends, I pull all the different areas of my life together. If we're hosting some friends over for a party or something, you'll see 10 different groups of people, and half of my friends that have grown up with are kind of like, well, who's this person? Okay, this person is from that place. This person's from that place. Mm-hmm. For me, it's all, and that's why it's so important for me to be working on things I'm really passionate about. If I'm not passionate about it, it's not a matter of whether or not I can perform in the job. It's whether or not I can just sit there and say, okay, is this what I'm doing for this week, this month, this year? Mm-hmm. So that's made me hyper aware of what is important to me. And when you have that, it's easy to do work. It's easy to speak to people. And when you meet people, they can see it in your eyes, they can see it in your face, whether you're interested in it or not. And that's an easy marker of whether or not you have the right response or the right pitch that says the right words and the right sequence, and actually liking what you do and seeing the value in it.
Beautiful. I really love the way that you positioned it in terms of it's a very personal definition, right? And I too believe in work-life integration, because it doesn't matter where you are, you're taking you with you, right? So if you're opening a business, you're taking yourself with you. So it's important that you give to yourself first and then, bring into the world. So now, in regards to your launch, so tell us more about your launch and where can we find your product?
Yes, so the way that crowdfunding works is we've made a whole bunch of products. We've got into our final product that we're selling, and you do a whole bunch of media around that. We've done photo shoots both here and in California, and you build up all these creative assets and you kind of show people around, do a whole bunch of media, which we started this week officially. We're doing that for about 4 weeks, really building up our community there. So that once we launch our campaign, we have the right audience there, and we have a way that we can really give them the best offers too. So with Kickstarter, you have multiple tiers. So what you're doing is you're getting a pre-order. You're getting the first few units of what we're offering. And what that does for founders like me and companies like Espresso Displays, it means to go into tooling and to get everything into production, everything like that, is very expensive with upfront costs. And with startups, it's almost impossible to do that without external funding, without having a whole bunch of money in the bank to spend on it yourselves. And also, it's very difficult to kind of gauge whether the products you've made are valuable in the market. Mm-hmm. So what Kickstarter does, it provides a great opportunity to kind of say, hey, this is the product that we've made. Back us, we're giving you up to 50% off our retail price because you're our earliest adopter. Mm-hmm. But not just the financial incentive, it's we're inviting you to join our community, join our family. And that's what's so important for me. It's such a great product. I use it every day. Mm-hmm. But it's also about saying, as one of our earliest adopters, we're inviting you to be a part of this dialogue with us so that we can build out more products and refine our product lines and continually to solve this problem with you, alongside you as one of our partners. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm really passionate about, having a whole bunch of people as passionate as what we are to create more products in new ways. So that's in about 4 weeks is when we launch on Kickstarter with Espresso Displays. Our pre-launch campaign gives you a sign-up list. In that sign-up list, we give you an email drip feed. We answer questions. We've also, on our Facebook page, we've got an intimate Espresso Displays VIP Facebook group. And that's where the three founders, Will, Matt, and myself, are going to be the most interactive with that community there. Whilst for a successful campaign, you care about very high metrics in your email sign-ups, your Facebook likes, and obviously backing when people can back and support and purchase your screens on the first day. I care about really high and intense engagement in that Facebook group so that we can be closest to the people who really want to share their ideas because they're so valuable. And that's what we want to support. They're the people that we do this for.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, for anyone that's listening and that's watching, we will have the link below, so you'll be able to see the website and everything else and how to get access to that. Is there anything else you want to say to anyone that's watching this show? So the people that are watching this show are people that are either entrepreneur, digital nomad. I like to call it traveling CEO. I like the title. But there's also people that are in their career looking to make a jump, or these are people that could be founders and investors looking for, great ideas and great entrepreneur that they could put their money in. So what is the one thing that you wanted to leave by and express, just to explain a little bit more in regards to the legacy that you yourself and Espresso Displays would like to leave here on earth, and also to everybody. What is a one final thought that you would like to say?
Yeah, so the final thought is that the way that we're working is changing. That underlying working behavior, that's changing, and it will continue to change over the next 5, 10, 20 years. In that same way, think about your laptop. The way that we've interacted with our laptops, even our tablets, has been quite the same over the last 5, 10 years. Display technology and how we interact with software in the digital world is changing, whether it's through what we see as flexible screens or smart glasses that you tap on and now a big panel pops up, or even micro OLEDs that we now have in glasses that can now show a full screen and everything like that. The way that we're engaging with the digital and software world, which is where we are living more and more, is changing. The way we're behaving is changing. And with Espresso Displays, that's what we want to fuel. There's going to be more and more opportunities, that the world is changing at a faster and faster pace, that we want to make sure that we can remain productive, we can align our working behavior with what the outcomes we want to have. And we're going to have many opportunities to do so with all the technology and behavior and connections that we want to be making there too. So the main thing, reach out to us. We want to hear a lot, and we're a community project. We are making products for people like you, that we want to hear from you. There's that, and we're very open, and we're at this stage now where we're quite agile as a company, that we can make real changes based on what your feedback is or how important issues are for you. As for anyone as part of your audience, Ruth, who is really thinking about doing something, doing a project, the most important thing you can do is just get started. That's the most important thing. It doesn't have to be a business. You don't have to have a website. You don't have to have a domain. Mm-hmm. Start compiling this idea, this nugget of an idea. It's a bit like a rabbit hole. All you have to do is just start walking down and see where it goes. But you need to keep walking. You need to keep moving forward. It will become so rewarding. And if you find a dead end, that's okay. Just don't sacrifice so much so early on that you end up going down the wrong path, that it turns you off this whole process. So be very aware of it, and just speak to people who inspire you. There's a lot of ideas out there. There's many to be had. The world is a more open and connected space that ideas are there to be nurtured and created.
Beautiful. You know what you remind me of? You remind me of Mark Zuckerberg, in terms of, I remember I saw something today in regards to, because this is at the beginning, like right now, your particular company is at the beginning stage, right? And you see different pictures right now on Facebook or Instagram regarding Mark Zuckerberg at the very beginning, right? So he used to meet with his friends, like 5 friends for 15 years, in his dorm room or just, wherever. But he would have 5 closest friends, and some of them invested, some of them didn't. But while he was starting, he had slippers, jeans, he was in his dorm, right? So the
Yeah.
beginning stage is very important. And I find that by being part of Espresso Displays at the very beginning and you being able to listen to your customers and to be able to grow this together, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone that's looking to get started at the early stage. So Scott, I want to thank you for your time. Say hi to Sydney. Good day, mate. What time is it over there? What time is it over there right now?
It's about 3:30 on a Friday afternoon, so it's almost beer o'clock.
Wow. And I'm in Toronto, Ontario, and it's 1:30 in the morning. So this is what we call the internet and the digital nomad lifestyle. It's just to be able to connect different parts of the world, creating podcasts and bringing value to the world. So Scott, thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. And for everyone, you'll see the link below, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. This is Ruth signing out, reminding you that success is in your DNA.
Thank you for listening to the Rendezvous with Ruth podcast show. For more information to help you automate your life and your business, please visit www.ruthdorsainville.com. Remember, success is in your DNA.